Hey Schmuckles, don't mind my hair woke up. Today we're going to talk about every license that is currently on Behaviour's radar for crossovers or collaborations in Dead by Daylight. This morning on Twitter, Behaviour released a satisfaction survey. Question 36 of the satisfaction survey is, which of the following franchises would you be most interested in seeing introduced in Dead by Daylight? If you just skim through the survey and don't actually answer the questions, this question will not come up. I know some people actually weren't getting this new licenses question on their survey. You have to actually answer the questions that will prompt this question to come up. So here's all the licenses on this list: Akira, American Horror Story, Archie Horror, Beetlejuice, Berserk, Billy the Puppet from Saw and Jigsaw, BioShock, Bloodborne, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Cabinet of Curiosities, Candyman, Chainsaw Man, Charmed, Conjuring, Control, Dark Souls, Dead Space, Death Note, Demon Slayer, Devil May Cry, Diablo, Elden Ring, Evil Within, Fallout, Fatal Frame, Friday the 13th, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, Ghost in the Shell, Ghostbusters, Ghostwire Tokyo, Hannibal. The fact Hannibal is on this survey, you definitely have to check out my most recent video if you haven't already. You can click on the title above if you want to see that video. You definitely have to see the Hannibal Lecter rumors for Dead by Daylight if you haven't already. Hellboy, Hellsing Ultimate, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Insidious, It, Jujutsu Kaisen, Junji Ito, Jurassic Park, Justin Long, Little Nightmares, Megan, Mortal Kombat, Nier Automata, Outlast, Overlord, Pain's Labyrinth, Predator, Sabrina the Teen Witch, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, Scooby-Doo, Sidney Prescott, Slenderman, Spawn, Squid Game, Street Fighter, Teletubbies, Terminator, Terrifier, The Addams Family, The Casting of Frank Stone, The Purge, The Shining, The Thing, The Walking Dead, The Witcher, Tokyo Ghoul, Trick or Treat, Universal Monsters, Frankenstein, Invisible Man, Mummy, Until Dawn, Warhammer 40k, Wednesday, WWE, X-Files. There's a lot of really cool possibilities on this list. Really cool to see Friday the 13th on the survey. Friday the 13th actually always shows up on these surveys. Same thing with Candyman, same thing with It. Are all of these franchises possible in Dead by Daylight? I'm not really sure. I feel like they still would have listed some of the bigger possibilities that just aren't possible at the moment still. Like, we know they've listed It as a franchise on these surveys, even though it hasn't been possible for quite a long time. Really interesting to see Jurassic Park showing up on the survey for a second time. I really feel like they have connections with Universal after working on the Chucky chapter, and maybe a Jurassic Park chapter is now actually possible in the game. And obviously The Thing is also a Universal property. It really feels like the Universal properties that we're seeing on this survey could actually be possible for chapters in the future. Obviously The Thing was licensed into the Funko Fusion game, which we talked about, but that connection with Universal's version of Chucky and the new skin that came in for Chucky recently as well really makes me think that this is a potential pathway for some of those Universal licenses to be brought into the game. The Universal monsters being on the survey also really supports that too. The fact we're seeing Hannibal, you definitely got to check out the last video that I posted about the Hannibal Lecter rumors in Dead by Daylight. Sidney Prescott being listed as a franchise or a license that could be brought into the game is really interesting too. We haven't really seen Sidney Prescott in any of these surveys before. The last video I posted, we went really in depth with the licensing situation with Hannibal Lecter because that's rumored to come into August 2025. Definitely take those rumors with a grain of salt. According to the Ruthless Leaks rumors, definitely take this with a grain of salt. We're getting a licensed survivor in October 2025. This is something that they'd probably go over at the next anniversary roadmap if true. There's actually three really big possibilities for this licensed survivor if this rumor is true. The rumor in the DBD Leaks Discord is that the October 2025 licensed survivor is going to be Fatal Frame. And that is actually something that is appearing on the survey this time. So we have Fatal Frame as possibly a licensed survivor coming into the game. We also have The Walking Dead, because do recall that Gumpy said that AMC reached out to Behavior. Gumpy was a very credible leaker. All the things Gumpy said actually came true. So definitely The Walking Dead is a potential collaboration that could be coming into Dead by Daylight in the near future, or at least when the roadmap opens. And if the rumors are true that there's an October 2025 licensed survivor, that could definitely be The Walking Dead too. The third option for the next licensed survivor paragraph would be Sidney Prescott. Matthew Cote has talked about in recent interviews how Sidney Prescott would come in as a standalone survivor if she were to ever come into the game. Sidney Prescott is the character that would be licensed through Paramount Pictures. And actually today, really interestingly, Ghostface was announced as a new collaboration in the Mortal Kombat 1 game. This was a rumor that we were actually tracking just rumors to see if the Scream franchise was opening to licensing their content into other games. And today it was announced that Ghostface is coming into Mortal Kombat. We can actually see Ghostface is featured in that new trailer. And if we take a look at the end of the trailer, we can see that there's 2 copyrights for the Ghostface license. The first one is by Easter Unlimited. I checked the Fun World website, and actually Fun World is a division of Easter Unlimited. Fun World was able to license the mask of Ghostface into Dead by Daylight, and then also Paramount was listed as a license holder too. In order to bring the Scream version of Ghostface into Mortal Kombat, they had to both license the mask through Easter Unlimited, which is a division of Fun World, and they had to go through Paramount as well to get the character rights to the Scream version of Ghostface. But the point is, Paramount was actually willing to license their stuff into a third-party game, Mortal Kombat 1. So would the same be true for Sidney Prescott into Dead by Daylight in the future? Those are the 3 main possibilities for the next licensed Survivor paragraph, I would say. Another possibility, obviously Ed and Lorraine Warren from The Conjuring would be a really good option too. When talking about Universal Monsters, Matthew Cote has in the past said that they'd actually make their own original versions of the Universal Monsters if they're ever going to be brought into the game. So it's really interesting that it's actually showing up on a survey. Megan showing up on a survey is really cool too, because obviously they're working with Blumhouse to make that Dead by Daylight movie. It seems like the progress to make that project come to life is actually pretty slow, but nonetheless, there's definitely a connection with Behavior and Blumhouse. So we're now seeing some of the Blumhouse IPs on these surveys, and that's really interesting to see, and I think could actually be potentially upcoming collaboration. Billy the Puppet from Saw and Jigsaw is really interesting to see. I mean, obviously we already have the pig, aka Amanda, in Dead by Daylight, so now we're starting to see part 2 potential chapters on this survey. Teletubbies is a really strange one to see. I don't actually know how that could possibly be on this survey at all, but it did show up on the survey. Terrifier now made its way on the survey. We saw Steve Barton, one of the license holders of Art the Clown, actually asking to add Art the Clown into Dead by Daylight. Terrifier 3 has come out. Art the Clown has made crazy huge moves to become a part of popular culture rather than be pretty much a cult. The Terrifier franchise has really blown up in the past few years. Now we're starting to see it's actually on Behavior's radar as a potential killer. I know a lot of people would like to see Frank Stone from the casting of Frank Stone into Dead by Daylight. That was the main antagonist of the spin-off Dead by Daylight game. Just in general, the big horror franchises that are out there still on Behavior's radar: Friday the 13th, Candyman, It, The Walking Dead. I think those are kind of the biggest possible licenses that are left. We can see the Addams Family and Wednesday on the survey too. I feel like those are 2 different license holders. The fact that those are being listed as 2 different IPs. Wednesday is owned by Netflix, so we're seeing Netflix things on the survey too. And that kind of leads me to my next point. For whatever reason, Stranger Things is not really listed as an IP on this survey. Obviously, there are a ton of other characters that could be brought into the game from Stranger Things, as well as just Vecna as a new killer. We know Matthew Cote said Vecna could be brought in as a killer, and it would be a standalone killer that's totally different from the Lich. But for whatever reason, Behavior's not listing Stranger Things on this survey, and I don't know if that's notable or if they kind of just decided not to do that for whatever reason. We did see Billy the Puppet from Saw and Jigsaw listed, so that's kind of a part 2 license. So for whatever reason, they didn't exclude that part 2 license, but Vecna from Stranger Things is still not on the survey. I think that's one of the bigger IPs that's left in the game, probably the biggest horror IP that's not on this list. Slenderman being listed as a franchise is actually pretty cool to see too. Slenderman's another really huge horror IP, and in the past, Slenderman hasn't shown up on some of the surveys, and there's been a lot of debate as to why that is. Previous surveys had movie licenses listed, and Slenderman isn't necessarily a movie licensed character, so that was one of the theories for why Slenderman wasn't on previous lists. But Behavior sort of generalized it to which of the following franchises, so they actually are able to list Slenderman now. So it's really cool to see Slenderman on Behavior's radar as a possibility in the future. Which of these licenses would you like to see come into the game? Also, are there any licenses that you don't see on this list that you would think would make a lot of sense in Dead by Daylight? Let me know in the comment section below. In the past couple of years, we've never actually seen Child's Play released on any of these surveys, so just because a license isn't on the list doesn't completely write it off as a possibility. Chucky was really a surprise license. It had not showed up on any of the previous surveys, and all of a sudden Behavior announced, hey, Chucky's going to be a licensed killer paragraph in this game. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you want licensing news like this recommended to you by YouTube. That does it for this video. Goodbye.